Okay, so tonight we're going to talk about 5.2, which is Introduction to Graphing. Now we're going to use this, which is your coordinate plane, to allow you to graph. On your coordinate plane, probably one of the most important pieces of information is making sure you know which axis is your x-axis, which is the one that goes horizontal, and which is your y-axis. And I do the tail and the y going up and down, so it reminds me that the y-axis goes up and down. So I have my x-axis and I have my y-axis. Now, along your axis in your notes, the points are already numbered. I'm going to number them for us. The point right here where the x and y-axis meet, that is actually called the origin. And the ordered pair for that is 0, 0. It's 0 on my x and 0 on my y. So that ordered pair right there is 0, 0. And I just introduced a new vocabulary term, ordered pair. Now on your notes, you see an ordered pair, or it may also be called a coordinate. These are always your x and y coordinates, your x and y points. So you would find x, a point on your x, and then the point on your y, and where they come together, you're going to put your dot. Let me go ahead real quickly and label my axes. This is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Notice the arrow, that means this goes on forever, infinitely, up to 1,000,000 and beyond. In the negative direction, remember this point be 0, in the negative direction I would have -1, -2, -3, -4, and I'm only going to label it that far because I know this arrow indicates it, the x-axis goes indefinitely in the negative direction. And the y going up are your positive numbers, and down are your negatives. And I just arbitrarily chose to go to -5 or to positive, you know, different numbers there. So I didn't go to 5 in each direction. And that's okay. So as you start working with ordered pair, let's say you have the ordered pair 2, 3, and you're asked to graph this ordered pair on your coordinate plane. So remember, this 2 is my x, the 3 is my y. So I want to find 2 on my x, which is right there. Now don't put a dot, just maybe put your finger. And then find 3 on your y-axis. And where those come together, that is the point where you're going to put your dot. That is the point 2, 3. Kind of like battleship. You find where they come together, and that's where you put your dot. So that's the point 2, 3. In your notes, it's going to ask you to go through and to graph a few other ordered pair. So please go ahead and try those. Make sure you're comfortable with that. I'm going to go on for the sake of time and give you some more information. Now you'll notice as you work through a coordinate plane, it's kind of broken up into 4 chunks or 4 sections. Each of these sections is called a quadrant. And the quadrants are written with Roman numerals. So this is quadrant 1, 2, 3, and quadrant 4. And notice the 4, again Roman numerals, is that IV. It's 1 less than 5, so that's quadrant 4. So 1, 2, 3, 4. And the purpose of the quadrants is it lets you talk about where things are located on a coordinate plane rather than having to say up here or down there, over there. You can say, well, the point 2, 3 is in quadrant 1 because obviously you can see that that falls within that quadrant. Okay? If you were to have a point, let's say this point right here, and this would be the point 0 on my x and down -4 on my y. So the point 0, -4, that's actually not in a quadrant. It's not in 1, 2, 3, or 4. It's actually lying on the y-axis. So just so that you know a reference point, if an ordered pair is actually in a quadrant, then you name it by the quadrant that it's in. If it's lying on one of the axes, you just say the point 0, -4 is on the y-axis. Okay? Alright, so that's it for the top part of the graphing. Please take your time as you work through these. This is one of the most critical pieces of Module 5 is knowing how to graph. We're going to be building on this throughout the next couple of weeks. Alright, so real quickly, let me erase. I want to show you one other idea in 5.2, and then you're going to be on your own. So now you may be faced with a linear equation like 4x plus 3y equals 22. And the question may ask, is the point 2, -4 a solution? So what that's saying is, if you could graph this linear equation, which in a week you'll be able to just look at this and graph it, if you could graph it, would this point, 2, -4, be on that graph? Would it be on that line? Well, now remember, this is my x, and this is my y. So, if I were to try to prove, yes, it is a solution or no, it's not, all I have to do is plug it in. So where I see an x, I'm going to plug in the 2. Where I see a y, I'm going to plug in that -4. So this is what that's going to look like. 4 times my 2, because remember a number standing next to a variable means multiply, plus 3 times my -4. And what they're asking is, does it equal 22? Well, so we got to solve this side and see, does it equal 22? 4 times 2 is 8, plus 3 times a -4 is a -12. If the negatives throw you off, play with a calculator. We're at this point where everything you do, you can use a calculator in this class. So on this left-hand side, you have 8 plus a -12, that's going to be a -4, and that absolutely does not equal 22. So to answer your question, no. This point is not a solution of this linear equation, because when I plug in the x and plug in the y, my left side does not equal my right side. Okay? So you'll come across several questions that ask you, is a point a solution of the equation? Just plug it in. See, does it work or does it not? You'll walk through a few examples of that in your notes using different linear equations, so go ahead and play with that. And the last thing I want to show you is the last question in your notes, actually. It's referencing the linear equation y equals 2x plus 1. And it's asking you to find an ordered pair that is a solution. Well, in order to do this, what you need to do is you need an ordered pair, and you're going to need to pick one of the points. Let's say we pick our x, and you can pick anything you want for x. If you plug it in, whatever you get for y, that will be a solution. It will always work out. It's because well, let's go through and we'll talk about y in just a second. So pick anything you want for your x. Let's pick 1. So if I plug 1 in to this x, so I have y equals 2 times 1 plus 1. Well, 2 times 1 is 2 plus 1. So my y equals 3. So I have the point 1, 3. Now, let's check ourselves. Is this really a solution? I don't know. So let's check it. So if I were to plug in, let me erase this now and prove it to you that this does work. So plug in, my y is going to be 3. Does that equal 2 times my 1? So does this side equal this side? 2 times 1 is 2, plus 1, well that side's 3, this side's 3, and yes, they are equal. That will always work. If they ask you to find an ordered pair that is a solution, you pick one, either the x or the y, and plug in for the other. And you will always get, assuming you do your math right, you will always get a solution. Because whatever you plug in for x, when you solve that, that will give you the y. Okay? You have a few of those to try. Good luck and have fun with 5-2.